Are you brave enough to light your own lantern in the dark? In 1952, a swimmer named Florence Chadwick was attempting to swim from Catalina Island to the coast of California, a grueling 26-mile journey through shark-infested waters. About 15 hours into her swim, a thick fog rolled in. It was so dense she could barely see the boats beside her, and the shoreline was completely invisible. Exhausted and disoriented, she finally felt like she couldn't go on and asked to be pulled from the water. Once she was in the boat, she realized she had been less than a mile from the finish line. Later, she was quoted saying, "I think if I could have seen the shore, I would have made it." This shows that things feel extra heavy when you don't have the reassurance of a finish line. Sometimes you won't see the shore. The darkness, the fog, the uncertainty, they hide the destination. In those moments, the only way forward is to keep moving with the little light you have. Your metaphorical lantern doesn't need to show the whole coastline, just enough to take the next stroke. 2 months later, Florence Chadwick tried again, visualizing the coast throughout her entire swim. This time, she completed the journey. The real enemy isn't the lack of visibility itself, it's our instinct to panic when we can't see the destination. It's forgetting that we have enough light to illuminate the space immediately in front of us, and that is always enough. Even the most courageous among us know it goes against every instinct to slowly move into the dark, not knowing what's next. We have to piece things together in real time, step by step, breath by breath, decision by decision. One of my favorite ideas is that if you wait until you're ready, you'll be waiting all your life. The difference comes down to not who has the most perfectly executed plan, but who is willing to turn on their lantern. Who will endure discomfort before they have all the answers? Who's willing to start before they have a clue? It's easy to think about, but not easy to do when you're feeling the weight of criticism, doubt, pressure, expectations, and comparison. All these fears keep us on the sidelines, stuck in the gap between where we are and where we want to be. The lantern you light is that small action, the bridge that gets you to the next point, and the next, and the next. Those small actions add up. They are what empires are made of. They are the agents of change. They are the email you send when you don't feel like it, the workout you do when your mind says, "Not today," or the vulnerable conversation you initiate even though your voice shakes. These small flames don't light up the whole world, but they give you enough light to keep moving forward. You always have enough at your disposal to do the next thing. And these little acts of courage ultimately place you where you need to be, whether that's on a team, in an executive suite, or on the California shoreline after a 26-mile swim. You have everything you need. But just like a seed that will one day become the mightiest tree in the forest, everything you need doesn't unfold all at once. It's one day, one action, one move at a time. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the pressures of life, remember that it's not yours to carry in its totality. You're not expected to jump a mountain. What's within your power and control is the ability to turn on your lantern and just move. Because in the dark, you don't need the sun. You only need that lantern and the courage to light it. It's the mind that moves. There's a powerful connection between our small, daily actions and our biggest moments of change. Let's reverse engineer this idea. We often believe that life's trajectory changes in our biggest moments, the once-in-a-lifetime opportunities where everything's on the line. We think, how do I perform when the lights are the brightest? But the answer isn't in those moments themselves. It's in the mundane, boring things. It's in the repetition of tiny steps that stack up again and again. Many people can picture the big opportunities. They dream of having the ball in their hands with 3 seconds left on the clock. But they aren't in the gym. They aren't chipping away at their fitness or studying the game's every detail. They just want the ball with the game on the line, believing they'll figure it out. But that's not how the world works. As the saying goes, confidence is earned. I want to tell you about a blank wall in my studio. Over the years, it's changed color and shape, but it's always been there. It has heard me speaking directly to it for thousands of hours. It has seen me stand up, put a rug in the center of the room, and talk to it as if it were a massive audience, over and over again. It wasn't fun, it was tedious and, to be honest, sometimes annoying. But if we reverse engineer those once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, I always knew I'd be ready. That one opportunity isn't about that one opportunity. It's about everything you've stacked up along the way. It's what enables your mind to think, this isn't special. This is just muscle memory. I've already paid the price. I've already won, suffered, lost, learned, and grown. This is just where I collect my prize. So, I ask you, what is your equivalent of my blank wall? Where are you creating those reps? How are you building yourself up so that when those fleeting opportunities arrive, you don't get worked up? You simply smile and think, I've earned this. This is who I am. And now the world will finally see. I was recently listening to Alan Watts, who referenced a Zen parable. He asked, when a flag is flapping in the wind, what's moving? The flag or the wind? The answer, neither. It's the mind that moves. Our minds interpret our experiences, and those interpretations create our realities. Keeping this understanding at the forefront of our lives reminds us how powerful we are. We often can't control the situation, but we can always control what the situation means. Every event is open to interpretation. Yes, it can take a while to find value, especially when our minds default to the negative. But if you're willing to look underneath, every occurrence holds exactly what you need. Take, for example, losing something that truly mattered, a person, a job, an activity. When asked, what does this change mean? The mind defaults to loss. I had it. I loved it. And now it's gone. But underneath that, there's a chance to take the pieces of what remains and go down a new path to find something just as, or even more, beautiful. The same loss can mark the beginning of an adventure. It's not ideal at first, but it's usually life's turbulence, not the ideal, that prompts our most important changes. I love taking this trip down memory lane because I see how my own life's turbulence has led to change. The business ventures that fell apart forced me to look in the mirror and become more. The projects that weren't great allowed me to see this journey as a creative one where some projects hit and some don't, but it's not personal. It's a ride. The breakups, while brutal, gifted me with an opportunity to level up and dial in my understanding of what really matters to me. All these physical setbacks and monetary obstacles hurt in the moment, and I'm not sure I could have controlled that initial reaction. But learning to ask, how can I get better from this? And how can 1 month from now be amazing because of this? Is a different question. It's not the flag or the wind that moves. It's my mind. So, how will I choose to paint the landscape around me? How will I choose to give meaning to the things that will ultimately comprise my reality? That is power. I used to think that finding value in life meant being happy all the time, but that's not the goal. We're emotional creatures, and life is challenging. The true victory is in finding gratitude along the way. It's in pausing and asking, how can I take this seemingly unfavorable result and find a way to win from it? Most people don't do that. They chalk up the losses as losses and leave the good stuff behind. But if you know there's a win in everything, and you ask your mind to look for it, the reality you create will be much different than someone undergoing the exact same circumstances with their eyes closed. Remember, it's the mind that moves. It's you who writes the script and controls the narrative. That's not a burden. It's a gift. It's what makes you more powerful than you could ever imagine. Everything is relative. I was recently thinking about the idea that everything is relative. Someone who runs 5 miles a day and then starts hanging out with people who run 10 miles a day will naturally ask themselves, could I be running more? Should I? This is human nature. Our perception of normality shifts when we are around people or circumstances that stretch it. This can be applied to anything. I remember about 5 years ago, a friend asked me what my monthly revenue goal was. I told him my number, and he paused, looked puzzled, and asked, why only that? My initial thought was, only that? That's a huge number. But that encounter rocked my worldview. It made me realize I needed to aim higher. We often have a negative view of this concept, believing that comparison is the thief of joy. And it can be unhealthy if we internalize it the wrong way. But when used correctly, it is not only healthy but incredibly powerful. We need to be reminded that we're capable of more. We can extend far beyond our current reality, but that fact alone does us no good. We have to position ourselves to see, feel, and believe. A good friend and I started reporting our daily workouts to each other, now twice a day. The funny thing is, it didn't start out that way. But the nature of not wanting to be the guy who does less took over. We're all about helping each other get better in business, fitness, and life. You can bet when I've been working all day and feel tired, and that little voice in my head says, just go really hard tomorrow instead, my phone will buzz with a screenshot of his workout stats. And I'll find time to do it. He's tired. He has a job and a family. But he reached for more, which makes me realize so can I. It makes me ask, are my targets big enough? This has been incredibly effective. How can I position myself to have a line of sight to that abundance in other areas of my life? How can I nurture relationships that remind me there's always another level? How can I keep at the forefront of my mind that there are creators helping millions of people and business owners making millions of dollars? It's not that I'm not proud and grateful for what I have. I am both of those things. Instead, I love the journey and the challenge of seeing what I can become. Our default is to get so consumed by our current way of things that we start to think that's all there is. We forget to keep our eyes up. A few things I plan on doing. I recently set up a quarterly mastermind with some buddies who are investors and business owners. This will hold me accountable for reporting on my growth, revenue, and future plans. For fitness, I've already mentioned my friend. I've also started meeting up with a few friends just to unwind and do nothing business-related. Making time to soak in the world around me is just as critical as work. You get the idea. It's about teaming up with people where our values overlap so we can help each other win. The saying goes, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But now, imagine taking that a step further, reaching out to those people and teaming up to help position each other to succeed. You get the accountability and camaraderie. You become a team looking to get the most out of your time on this planet. My belief is that the pieces exist around us to do incredible, monumental things. The world around us determines how we mix, match, and utilize those pieces. So let's ask the question, what is a life well lived to me? And how can I tangibly position myself to obtain it and help those I care about obtain it? Those are powerful questions that will lead to incredible growth. Here's to going even when you don't want to moving forward when you're uncomfortable, to stepping up when you're fearful. Here's to courage. Courage versus misalignment. I was talking to a friend the other day about the difference between two things. On one hand, there's the fear that presents itself when we're growing or leveling up, the nerves before a big event or an important life change. On the other hand, there are the emotions that arise when we start to feel that something isn't right for us, a similar discomfort but not quite the same. We feel uneasy because we know we're misaligned. We concluded that when you're on the edge of that metaphorical cliff and your body is pushing back, your heart is pounding, and your mind is racing, the question worth asking is, will I be disappointed in myself if I don't go through with this? Will I be letting myself down by turning back? You have to jump into the future and imagine your future self reflecting on this. If you see yourself as regretful, wishing you had pushed through, then it's not an alignment issue, it's a matter of courage. Looking back, it's usually obvious. I can easily recognize in hindsight the things I stopped doing because they weren't aligned with who I wanted to be. When you stop doing the wrong thing, it feels like a breath of fresh air, a step back to leap forward. Those decisions create a more fulfilled life. But I also remember the times I stopped because I let the moment get bigger than my end goal. The times I caved and decided I didn't want to pay the price solely because of temporary discomfort. Those are the times I regret. That's a different feeling altogether. As Jim Rohn says, there's the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Choose your pain. One of the things that makes life challenging is that we have to be open to some level of discomfort. That's just what it is to be human. Our power, though, is that we get to choose where we let that pain in and what it will do for us. Will it be the type of pain that helps us grow, or the type that reminds us what could have been? I truly believe most of the time we stop not because the path was wrong for us, but because we forgot that life's best experiences come with a hefty price tag. They demand a lot of us. In those moments when the lights shine the brightest and we feel the weight of the world, it's easy to misdiagnose that discomfort as a stop sign. Things like feeling alone, unsure, unvalidated, or having your pride hurt or confidence shaken seem awful. But in reality, they're just the cost of admission. You have to not know before you can ever know. It's a challenge to remind yourself of this when you're feeling nothing but pressure, but it's a challenge you're capable of handling. Life is about stepping into things we don't feel ready for and learning, repeatedly, that we can piece together the knowledge we need along the way. It reminds us that fear will show up regardless of what we do in life. But to grow into the people we're capable of becoming, we have to understand that fear is, in its own way, an invitation. The discomfort doesn't mean something is wrong. Often, it's the opposite. It's letting you know that more is available and that you are right where you need to be. Life isn't saying no, it's merely demanding courage. And you have courage. Breaking the supposed to. I once heard someone say that they found some of the most important things in their life in places where they weren't supposed to find them. This is interesting for two reasons. One, it happens a lot, and two, who creates the rules about what we're supposed to do in the first place? I am continuously blown away by our tendency to create imaginary walls and then live within them, building steel bars around ourselves that separate the now from future opportunities. In one of the first videos I ever made, I talked about a nagging feeling of discomfort I had right after I left the corporate world to start my own business. Back then, calling it a business was a stretch. I was basically just making videos and putting them on social media. I loved running in the middle of the day along the Charles River in Boston, but I couldn't shake the guilt. I felt like I wasn't supposed to be doing it. My whole life, I was taught that you go to school or work during the day. That's the right thing. A decade later, I know how crazy that sounds, but it took me a long time to even enjoy it without feeling like a deviant who was leaving everything he'd worked for to fail spectacularly. The word supposed to followed me around like a shadow, constantly trying to pull me back. To me, freedom is separating yourself from that exact sentiment. It's doing what's best for you and blazing your own trail. That's where you'll find very few supposed tos. This is a microcosm of a greater truth. Our most pivotal moments are found where we weren't supposed to find them, because what we're supposed to do is very rarely thought out. It's simply the norm, marching orders, what the crowd is doing. It's what helps us blend in. As I've pushed further into life, I've come to believe that what's best is rarely all one thing or all another. It's about finding a balance that supports your ideal life. And while I'm not suggesting you should always be different or that something common is wrong, it does explain why breaking from these norms hurts. We've evolved to associate them with survival. And here lies the divide between surviving and excelling. Surviving is mitigating risk, excelling is hunting down opportunity. Surviving is blending in, excelling is asking what makes you unique and diving into it. Surviving is not having to innovate because the instructions are clear. Excelling is asking, now that I know the rules, how can I bend and break them to improve my life and the lives of those around me? I wasn't supposed to deviate from my career track, but I did. And I found something I never would have otherwise, the ability to work on what I enjoy and share it with others. I wasn't supposed to leave home, but I found comfort, peace, and new beginnings that I never would have experienced. I wasn't supposed to do many of the things I'm doing today. It was a genuine curiosity and a willingness to chase what's meaningful. The beautiful thing is, anyone can do that. Every single one of us can detach from the supposed twos in our lives. Maybe some should be there. They give you stability you need and cherish. But I promise you, some of them aren't. And it's worth taking a look. Where can we be a little braver? Where can we venture outside the scope of what we've subconsciously deemed everyday life? The world is yours once you give yourself permission to pursue it. So, what are you conceding? What have you accepted as fact that you might find to be fiction? There is a world of infinite opportunity waiting for you, just past your acceptance of the way things are. You are your track record. I wouldn't make excuses for you. I wouldn't tell you everything is great when the wheels are falling off. Instead, I'd point to your insufficiencies and remind you that you're capable of chipping away at them. Pragmatism can save someone's life. But being human is also about knowing there are things you don't know. It's realizing that growth is picking up little understandings and bringing them with you into the future. For me, part of that personal evolution was coming face to face with the fact that looking forward isn't all of it. We are, in this moment, the manifestation of the obstacles we've already overcome. We are the times we wanted to stop and didn't. We are the losses we bounced back from and the adversity we forged into opportunity. We're the endings we melted down into beautiful beginnings. We are the mistakes and the little encounters with hell that didn't define us, but instead changed us. And that matters. 4 or 5 years after college, my friends and I had a fantasy baseball league. I was oddly good at it, winning 3 or 4 out of 5 years. My simple strategy was to pick players based on their career track record, not on how they performed last year. If a guy hit 30 home runs for 6 years and then only hit 7 last year, I bet he'd revert to his average and hit 30 again. I trusted his track record. This point has nothing to do with baseball and everything to do with life. So much of the time, we focus entirely on our current struggles, the bad things happening now. We feel like we're striking out, and our brain goes into panic mode. And yes, a plan for a comeback is necessary, but we can't forget who we are and what we've done. We can't overlook our track record. As the saying goes, you've survived 100% of your bad days. You've lived through countless struggles and climbed out of many catastrophes. Yet it seems that when we need that reassurance the most, we're most inclined to forget it. We question our ability to persevere precisely when we need to prove to ourselves that we are unconquerable. I would never tell you the road ahead will be easy. I'm not saying it won't suck at times or that it won't take all of you. I'm merely saying that you are equipped to emerge victorious, to handle not some of it, but all of it. The person in the mirror is stronger than you can even imagine. You're not operating on blind faith or hoping for a miracle. You're operating on your own record of success. What you do is find a way. When you don't believe me, look over your shoulder. Take a trip down memory lane and glance back at all the mountains you've already climbed. Life won't be smooth sailing all the time. You'll have your slumps and adversity, no question. But they aren't you. They are what you were made to navigate. Everything has brought you to this point. It's great to focus on this point, but don't lose sight of the everything. Sometimes it's not about who you will be someday. Sometimes it's about what you've already become. It's about who you are now.